Welcome to another episode of Roll or Die. As many of our listeners know, we are on a mission to bring you all the Australian female Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts as guests on this show. Today's guest comes to us by way of Brazil. She is a somewhat newly promoted black belt. She's from, as I said, from Brazil via the Gold Coast. She trains out of Rhythm Jiu-Jitsu. This is actually my first time meeting her, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know Alice Grostein. Thanks for joining us, Alice.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you for coming on, Alice. We appreciate it, giving your time up and that sort of stuff and having a chat with us. Before we get too far into the jiu-jitsu stuff, can you tell us a little bit about your time in Brazil and like where you were from and that sort of thing, and then what brought you up to Australia?
Yep, sure. So I was born in Sao Paulo, which is a really big city in Brazil. And I actually didn't train jiu-jitsu in Brazil. I did have a little go at jiu-jitsu back in the 90s, sort of like late 90s. It was very rough at that time. So I got hurt and I was like, oh, this isn't for me. Did a lot of capoeira back in the day. So I did about 10 years of capoeira. So that was my sort of entering the martial arts. And Brazil is the other, I guess, big martial arts in Brazil. Very different to jiu-jitsu. And then, so I grew up in Brazil, did all my studies there, came to Australia first time in 2001. Before I did jiu-jitsu, I did a lot of other sports, but surfing was the biggest thing in my life, I guess. And then, I sort of picked Australia because I was like, oh, it's good surfing. I want to learn English, and I was like in my early 20s. Think about 2001. I moved here. Was going to go to Sydney, but then had some friends who have been to the Gold Coast. They were like, "Oh, you're going to love it. It's a bit more cruisy. You like the lifestyle." And came here, stayed for 5 years. Met my first husband, and then we ended up going back to Brazil for 5 years. Had 2 kids, and then. My first husband is actually from New Zealand, so he was like, oh, let's go back. He was sort of tired of the lifestyle in Brazil, and we moved back to the Gold Coast. I didn't really want to go to New Zealand because of the weather, too cold for me. So moved back to Australia in 2010. And I've been here since. I love it. It's a great place to live. Wouldn't want to be anywhere else, really.
Yeah, no, Brett Joss is from New Zealand, actually, Alice. So, go ahead and bag the hell out of his country. I do all the time.
You know what? I love New Zealand. I really do. Like, the times I've been there have been just like the people in New Zealand, like amazing and beautiful country, just a little bit harder to live, I guess, in terms of like finding work and the weather. Like, it's too cold for me. I'm just not used to it, and I find it a little bit hard to manage.
I agree with everything you said, Alice, so it's fine. Great people, beautiful place, a bit too cold.
Maybe great place to visit. Yeah, maybe not so much place to live. I'm interested in what you were saying about capoeira and it being different to jiu-jitsu, because like I know I visited another academy and we did like a capoeira warm-up as like part of our jiu-jitsu warm-up, because there are some crossovers, or you don't feel so much?
Well, I've stopped capoeira many, many years ago. So I did it when I started off when I was like maybe 14, 15, and I did until like my mid-20s. And it was very acrobatic. So I've had a neck injury when I was younger, horse riding, and I was a little bit scared of doing all the flips and things like that. So my capoeira was a little bit limited in terms of what I would do. But, also, there's no physical contact, really. It's very, it can be very aggressive depending on where you train. But it's just not that physical contact. It's a lot more dynamic, a lot more moving. But it also, what I really loved about capoeira was the culture. There's so much to it, all the music and the instruments and the story behind it. So it was definitely something, and it definitely helped me with my like athleticism, my flexibility, my understanding of moving. But in terms of the actual techniques, they're very different. It's a lot more kicking and spinning, and completely different to what we do in jiu-jitsu. But it's definitely something that I would like to try it again, and I did sort of go, oh, maybe I'll do it again. But I think just at my age now, it's too hard. First, to manage the time to do everything, but also to have the energy. Like I already train a lot of jiu-jitsu, and also I have a little bit of a bad knee. So I found that capoeira, like it's a lot of like moving sideways, actually jumping. And for some reason, my knee is okay with jiu-jitsu, but capoeira, not so much.
No need to explain. Brendos and I are in our 50s, so like, body part being sore, like, that's all part of the journey for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
With capoeira, are there is there a belt system? Can you because obviously we've probably all seen it on TV and movies and stuff, and it looks so fun. The thing that grabs me when I see it is definitely the music and definitely the movement. But what was the professional side of it? What does that look like?
Oh, I really didn't get into like professional level. It was more fun. I trained like on and off. I can't really tell you. I can't remember exactly the belt system anymore, but it starts with a white belt, like everything else, I guess, and then it goes into like, I think it's white and yellow, and then it goes yellow, green. Yeah, I can't remember the system, but and it's different for different groups as well. And there's two different types of capoeira. You have the local capoeira from Brazil and the one from Angola. So one's slower than the other, one is more acrobatic, and yeah, there's lots of, I guess, same as jiu-jitsu, a lot of variations. Well, not so much as the belts. Jiu-jitsu is just one system, but capoeira, I think it sort of varies a little bit between the groups.
And so what took you into jiu-jitsu? What reintroduced you? You mentioned you started it back in Brazil in the 90s. How did you rediscover it later in life?
So I always loved jiu-jitsu. It was something that I watched, and I found it like fascinating. And I think mostly the mental side of it, like learning the techniques and the whole sort of chess-like systems that we learn. It wasn't like that back in the day. Like jiu-jitsu developed, obviously, as you know, developed so much. But even from the start, it was, the first few classes that I did in Brazil, I did it for a little bit, but it was just rough. The guys would not care if you're a female. There were not many females in the gym, and they're like, you're just going to have to work as hard as, and sometimes I felt like they didn't want me there. Like, oh, there's a woman here, so now we all have to do different things. And I just didn't feel like it was a welcoming environment back then. And then when I moved to Australia, my children were little. I had 2 kids. I have 3 kids now, but I had 2 at the time. And my husband at the time started working with Daniel Lima from Fight Club. He was working, like doing marketing for his gym. And I met Daniel at some barbecues with friends, and he kept going, oh, you do well, like you're athletic, you love sports, you love surfing, you should have a go again. It's not the same as it used to be. And that, 12 to 13 years ago when I started training again. And I was like, you know what, I'll give it a go. I'll see how I feel. The first class I did again, I was like, wow, this is different. This is not what I experienced the first time. And I can't really say that what I experienced the first time was everything that jiu-jitsu was at the time. It was just the experience that I had in that particular gym. So when I went back to Fight Club and I felt like, this is different, I like it. But I was still, young mum, with 2 kids and busy with the kids, with work. I work full time as well. So I started off really slow. And I was scared of getting hurt. I was always like, oh, if I get hurt, I won't be able to do everything that I need to do for my family. I won't be able to work at the same, capacity. So I started off really, really slow, and I would train when I could. So I would say for the first 2 or 3 years, I didn't fully engage. I was just like, I love it. It's my time off, where I can switch off from everything else. But I didn't have, that commitment that I do now.
During that time, were your kids training as well? Like, was it a family thing? Like, were you all going down, or did it just become your thing?
Yeah, no, it started off, so just my first husband, Lee, he started training, and yeah, he enjoyed it and he talked about it a lot. And then the kids started, so Nina and Daniel. I think Nina was like 6 or 7 at the time, then maybe a bit older. I don't know. was a long time ago, but yeah, she maybe 8, and Daniel was like 4 or 5. Yeah, they both started. Nina enjoyed a bit more than Daniel, but we didn't train together as such because it was difficult, like the time. If Lee was training, I was looking after the kids, or if they were training, I would, so we kind of just managed it, but we sometimes trained together, but we were all training. And I think that was one of the catalysts as well for me to start training was, having a little bit of that something else in common with my kids and the family.
I can't believe that we haven't met before, Alice, because I feel like our journeys are actually quite similar. So I also have 3 kids, and around the time that I guess you would have started, so you would have started around 2012, 2013. Is that?
Yeah, around that time.
I think it was there, or maybe a little bit before, maybe 2011. I went up to the Gold Coast and I actually trained at Fight Club because I got to know Cara and Jess McVeigh.
Oh, yeah.
And at that time, funny story actually, Cara had helped convince me to do a comp that I think Fight Club had organised when I was going up to the Gold Coast with my kids for a holiday. I think I was a blue belt at the time. But then Cara, she started working fly in, fly out, and so I didn't get to meet up with her. But then I think I faced Jess a couple of times and a couple of other people, but maybe that might have been just before you started training. But yeah, it's actually very similar journeys that we've had. And I know Daniel.
Maybe we did meet.
Maybe we've known. Sorry.
Or we may have missed. Yeah. We may have missed each other on that particular.
That's right. That's right.
I'd go to Brazil and New Zealand a lot as well. So sometimes I was out, and like I said, I wasn't fully committed at the beginning. I trained once or twice a week. Sometimes I would skip the training.
100%. Yeah. It's hard when your kids are little to do that. So your kids are a bit older now. So this is one of the reasons, I guess, why I really like having mums on the podcast who can show that, it is possible, to train and have a family and have like a job as well and stuff like that. So you're juggling all those things, yeah?
Yeah, I have a little one as well. So I had a second relationship, and we had, with Paulo from Flow. So we had another little girl, and she's 4 now. So she is, Paulo and I separated a few years ago, but I train at Rhythm and Paulo trains at Flow. So she does classes with him mostly because we don't want to split her too much, her time between 2 gyms. But she's loving it too. So it's sort of like starting again, having another little one. But I think now it's a bit easier because I have the other 2 are grown up, and Chloe spent only half the time with me, and she's sort of she's been on the mats pretty much since I was trained pregnant, all the way through, and she was born and on the mats every day, and it's sort of a different lifestyle to what I had back then. Jiu-jitsu was such a big part of my life when I fell pregnant with Chloe that, she's just sort of always there. She's at every comp, either with me or with her dad. And she's very much involved in learning, which is great.
What an amazing environment to, grow up in and around, we see this, we're lucky enough at our club that we have a lot of mums who come down with their kids or families that are coming down, at the moment it's mum, dad and the kids, which is amazing. So such a great way for kids to grow up. It's a healthy place. It's a respectful place. That's very, very cool. She's very lucky.
Yeah. I think she really enjoys it too because she spends so much time there, and there's always other kids for her to play with, and like you said, just a healthy environment for her to grow up in, and hopefully she'll continue. My other 2 kids ended up giving up jiu-jitsu, unfortunately. They sort of doing different things with their lives, but hopefully Chloe having this sort of mum and dad and on the mats will continue. But it's her choice. She can decide when she's older whether she wants to compete or wants to just train sometimes. But to be fair, my other kids sometimes they'll train as well. They just don't like competing or being in that sort of training all the time. They just Nina's 20 now and Daniel is 17. So they just doing their thing.
And what about you, Alice? When did you start to dial it up to start training a bit more and to start competing for yourself?
I think So I didn't start competing for a very long time because for a few reasons. I think the main one was that I was scared of getting hurt or like I'm not the kind of person that likes to be the center of attention. So I felt like, oh, this is uncomfortable. So I started training a lot more when I guess when Paulo and I started dating at Flow, him being like the owner of the gym and spending a lot more time there. And then he was actually really encouraging of me. He said, it's going to be great for your jiu-jitsu. You should try it. So I actually started competing when I was 40, right after I had Chloe. So I was pregnant with Chloe at 39 and, she was 3 or 4 months old. And I was like, no, I'm going to start competing now. So it's an interesting decision, but yeah, I love it. And then after I started competing, I never stopped. I'm like, every time that I have an opportunity to compete, I do. And I feel like my jiu-jitsu just changed so much. And I really, really regret that I didn't compete at like blue and white belt. I started at purple. And whenever anyone talks to me about competing, I'm like, and they white or blue belt, I'm like, oh, you should definitely give it a go. I know it's scary, but it will just give you such a different perspective. It will just help your jiu-jitsu. Like you spend so much time on the mat and that's going to give you like real life feedback. And that's what you got to work on. It gives you data to know where you're at rather than just, like when you're training at the gym, like it's fun, it's great, but you're not giving it 100%. Like most of the time and sometimes you go like, oh, let's have a really hard session. But even then, you're not going to give it 100%. You're at a competition is when you really get to test yourself, but also with people that are at the same level, at same age, same weight, hopefully, sometimes not, but that's when you get the real perspective of where your jiu-jitsu at and you can collect that data, take it back to the training room and really, start refining your technique.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. So you start when you're 40 and you start at purple belt. So were you getting matches then, Alice, or were you dropping down in age or going up in weight? Like how many matches were you getting at competitions that you were going into?
So even now I drop age and I go up in weight, whatever it is available to, especially in the smaller comps.
Yeah.
At purple belt, there's still, probably I went on the adults division a few times, or I'd go in master one, which I think at purple belt is okay. There's still like, because I'd been training for so long as well. The first few matches were really, really tough. I went against people that were really experienced and I had no idea what I was doing. I was just, way out of my depth. And I got destroyed, but I was like, instead of like feeling, oh my gosh, this is scary, I'm not going to do it again. I'm like, no, I can do this. And I'll start, training for competition and it gave me a bit more of a boost of energy. But yeah, I did have to match, a lot younger, opponents and a lot bigger opponents too. Sometimes lighter, like really I'd go against anyone who's signed up at purple belt. I was like, oh yeah. And sometimes even you'd have to go with like some of the competitions they mix like purple and blue, purple and brown. And I'll just sort of like, I'll just take anything once I started feeling more comfortable. And even, like I said, even now, like I'll go as a brown belt. I competed a lot in adults and heavy divisions just to have more matches.
And Alice, as a brown, you also went to the Brasileiros, yeah? Can you tell us a bit about that?
So I was actually going to Brazil just to see my family, just spend a bit of time with my family. My dad was having some health issues and I wanted to go and spend some time. So I chose to be there. Was more of a coincidence, but yeah, Brasileiros was on. So I was like, oh yeah, great. I can sort of, be at this really high level, big competition without having to spend a fortune going to America or something like that. I do feel like the Brasileiros is probably at a similar level, like different because you get obviously a lot of the Brazilian people that can't compete overseas. They are competing there. So it was a very different experience to competing in Australia. I decided as soon as I got to Brazil, I would find a place to train because I had a couple of months before the competition. So I found a gym next to my parents' house that was very good. I was very fortunate, had some really high level training there. Really great coaches. They were very supportive. And it was, I signed up for the Masters 3 division. There's only 3 of us, but it was, definitely really high level. Won my first match with a submission. I think it was had an arm choke, and then the second match was against a really, really great lady who was, it was lost for like 2 points, but it was a really great match. A lot of back and forth with sweeps, and got stuck in her closed guard for a bit, which then, I missed out a little bit on strategy. I think she was very experienced, and she had a good strategy. But it was a really good experience. I think just that different energy, being there with like really high level athletes competing in the adults division, like professional athletes. And, it's a 7 or 8 day event, and just so many people, so much passion as well. You can like, on the finals, I was there for the finals of the black belt adults, and, it's just people screaming, like almost like a soccer game. It was just such a cool experience. I loved it.
That's an amazing experience for sure. And like we see, whether you watch it on Flow or if you haven't been, and Kim talks about this, like going to Worlds, not World Masters is really cool, but going to Worlds where you're in that atmosphere where everybody, is watching a black belt match, and you're supporting someone and somebody else is supporting the other guy or the other lady. And those atmospheres, like it can be like a football game or something like that, so that's really cool. What I was going to say, Alice, though, is it must be very, very nice for you to see that your level of jiu-jitsu at that time, well, there's only 3 people in the division, but there's 3 people and you're all the same, and like you're getting either submissions or you're getting very, very close to winning those competitions. I think that speaks volumes to the training that you have, and then obviously the work that you put in. So that's a really nice feeling, eh?
Yeah, I think, the match that I lost was really close, but also that lady, like I saw her this year, she got a black belt as well, and she won. She actually last year in brown belt, she won the open weight as well, and then this year she won her division in black belt. So super high level. I've watched a bit of her competing as well. So the fact that I didn't, it was only 2 points. It was a tight match. So that made me, feel really, because I was questioning myself before. I know it's different in the maybe the men's division where there's like 30 guys, 30 black belts to compete. It's still obviously the female jiu-jitsu is still growing. So it's a little bit different, but it's still, it's great to know that, my jiu-jitsu is not that far off, and and that's the jiu-jitsu in Australia as well, because of the training partners that I have here, the techniques that I learn at the gym where I train at, which, it's really high level as well. The people at my gym, they're not people that compete a lot. Like they're more like into like their hobby. It's a small gym, but everyone who's there is very, very technical. They're there for each other, helping each other learn more. People that like studying jiu-jitsu, and it's just it's a very, it's a place where I feel like people are there to learn. There's none of the like ego stuff or like trying to really beat each other up. It's like, of course, we train hard, but it's about creating a place where you can learn and support each other rather than, let's just go harder every day.
And what's next for you, Alice? So the Brasileiros was last year when you were brown, and I know you've competed now at black. And what's coming up for the rest of the year for you?
So I've pretty much put my name down for every competition around here, but I have I'm going to do ADCC trials just because it's on the Gold Coast. So I have been training a lot more no-gi last couple of years, just because the gym that I train at, we have more classes, and I don't know, people just like no-gi more, and I kind of moved towards that. I've only trained in the gi for the past, 10 years, and then the last 2 or 3 years I started sort of moving towards no-gi, and I love it. But yeah, going back to the question, so ADCC trials, I've got a couple of grappling industries competition, Byron and Brisbane and Gold Coast, Pan Pacific, Nationals, Queensland States, but I'm not going overseas anymore. I have a cert trip planned for the end of the year. So I was like, I'm not competing because I want to have some time off as well and just enjoy, relaxing. So yeah, I think that's what I've got. I have put my name down for a couple of like those super fights, so hopefully I'll get invited to one of those. I love them. I found them really fun, and having that sort of like submission only, different sort of pace. So I'll be keen to do more of that if I can.
You did one last year, yeah? Can you tell us a bit about it?
I did one last year and one this year as well. So last year I did the WNG against Jackie. I forgot her surname. Jackie Hughes.
Nurse Jackie, I think she calls herself, on Instagram.
Yeah, the Ninja Nurse.
Yeah, Ninja Nurse, that's it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I actually wasn't, she had another opponent, and then her opponent, I think it was Healy, and she pulled out with 2 weeks before the match, and then, I said, yeah, I'll go. And I didn't have enough time probably to prepare properly because I hadn't really done many invitationals before. And especially the submission only format was very different to like the IBJJF rules. But it was a great experience. I had so much fun. It was, I had the 2 weeks where I was kind of, preparing for that. And then, Jackie was a very strong opponent. I lost by, rest decision. So I think there was a bit of a strategy, not a mistake, but like I hadn't done submission only competition before, and I prepared myself to, first of all, to try and kill her game because I knew she was a leg locker. So it was like, oh, I'm not that strong leg locking. I'm a little bit better now, but at the time, I felt like, that wasn't my game and I didn't want to play footsies with her. So I said, oh, I'm going to try and pass. I knew she was going to probably pull guard, and she did. Like there were 3 rounds and she pulled guard on every round. And I was working on my inside camping, which is a style of passing where you're really tiring your opponent, and it's good for long matches like that. There were 3 rounds of 5 minutes, so I thought, but her guard was really hard to pass, and even though I did get her tired and I passed in the end for a very brief moment, it just wasn't the best strategy for a sub only competition. So there was a lot of adjustments and like micro battles that we had in the match, and I think it was a very, very technical match. Like if you watch it, you'd be like, it doesn't look like there's a lot happening, but there is a lot happening. It's just those exchanging grips and changing side to side and putting the knee across and coming back. And then she had a few attacks on me, didn't submit me, but had some really good entries to my leg, and I think she had a toy bar entry and pulled out to enter my leg again. So yeah, it was really good, really great experience. I'd love to do it again. Hopefully at the next one, might be able to do it again. And then this year I had a match against Charmaine Thompson at the Artemis grappling in Adelaide, and that was a draw. So that was a little bit frustrated. I didn't even know it was possible to have a draw in a competition like that. But it was, again, it was a really great match. She had a very different style to Jackie, and a different style to me as well. She felt like she had a bit more of almost like an MMA style where she wouldn't accept bottom position. So I swept her a couple of times to get back up straight away. And I was like, I want to play guard, and she wanted to get up. So I ended up like attacking her leg a few times, but very tough to submit, and didn't submit her in the end because there was no points. Yeah, I don't know how the decision was made, but it was a draw. So I was a little bit frustrated. I was like, oh, we need to do it again.
Any
but
of the organisers
really
out there listening, please get Alice on your show. As she said, the women's matches are very, very technical. I personally always enjoy watching them. I'm sure other people do as well. So yeah, let's get Alice on the next event, please.
Oh, thank you.
I agree
great.
with Kim. Like watching women's jiu-jitsu at the moment, for me, it's because for the most part, like women are so technical. There's so much for me that I can learn, watching those matches. So yeah, women's jiu-jitsu at the moment, it's just going crazy. It's brilliant. I think one of the things I really like that you were sort of saying then too, Alice, is that, from one super fight, you learn so much from it, like in that match where you're like, okay, well, she wants to pull guard, I'm going to pass. Well, camping in a short match might work, but in a long time, maybe it doesn't, so you learn so much from, in the space of 5-10 minutes or whatever it might be, you can learn so much. And I think that's one of the benefits of competition. Like, you don't have to go in there thinking that you're going to win, but going in there with the aspect of like, I'm going to see where my jiu-jitsu is at, and then what holes I have, and then come away from, a match or a competition and go, okay, well, these are the holes that need to be plugged. I think you get so much data from those.
Yeah, 100%. I think the first few times that I competed, I was so caught up in winning that, that became a problem, because that's all I'll think about. And if I lost, I would be so devastated. And it's like, that doesn't define my jiu-jitsu or me. It just meant that day that person was better than me and I had stuff to work on. And when I shifted that mentality of like, it doesn't, because I would be embarrassed if I lost, or I feel really down on myself. And I was like, why? Like, no one really cares, first of all. If I win or lose, this is for me. Obviously, I want to perform at the best that I can. I want people to enjoy watching as well when they are watching, but no one's going to be upset with me if I lost. No one's going to be overly excited either if I win. Like, it's for me, and it's for me to develop my game, to know where I'm at, to keep growing. And once I shifted that mentality in training as well, because there was a point where training, I felt like I had to win every round, especially with women. And that just set me back. That didn't help me at all. That just created animosity between women as well, like the aggression every time. So that sort of took me a bit of time to learn. And now when I look back, I was like, oh, it was a waste of time. Like I could have just, learned a lot earlier. But it's just how things go. You just take time to learn. And sometimes I see people, I do have a lot of women that I have contact with in jiu-jitsu because of the women's open mat that I organize. And I can see that in certain people, and I want to tell them and I want to advise, but I hold back. It's like everyone has their own learning process, and no matter if I say, they might just get upset with me and they're just going to have to learn it, Like if they ask for my advice, I will tell them. If they say, look, what do you think I'm doing that is setting me back, or how can I improve? I can tell them about my experience and say, this is what helped me, but I don't want to point fingers and go, oh, you got to change.
On that, Alice, you mentioned earlier about, your original introduction to jiu-jitsu in Brazil, and it wasn't a great environment. It wasn't a good experience. What advice would you give, particularly for guys, around, rolling with women and how to make it a more positive environment and a more positive experience?
There's a few things. I think just from my experience, like, there's obviously a lot more guys in the gym than girls. So first of all, just making them feel comfortable in the environment by including them, like, hate when you're in a place and then the guys are rolling with each other and they completely ignore a woman, because they could be learning a lot from women at any bout, you could be missing out on an opportunity. So yeah, including them in the training, in the chats, in the group. Second, I would say learning how to row with a woman without being condescending, I guess. Like you can train with women, you can train hard without smashing them. You don't have to be like, play dead and just let them do whatever and then go like, yeah, well done, good job, because it's just a different body type. It's not the technical ability that makes a difference. So it's a skill. Like I'd say there's lots of great guys to train with, and it's just developing that skill of learning to not use strength, but when to push back and when to let them work, but again, not give everything and just let them choke. Like it's a bit of a process of learning, and I feel like even for us as we like high belts or when you're training with smaller people or people that are like beginners, it's kind of the same thing. Like I'm not gonna train with a white belt the same way I train with a person that has been training as long as I have, and knowing when to let them work, but also not just I just let them take my back and choke me and then they think that they've done really well, because it's but then also not just stopping the row halfway through and going this and that. So it's sort of like you want to let them have fun and play and let them play, but also not just give every position. Yeah, it's a bit of a skill. But I think a lot of guys have mastered that skill. Like there's so many good training partners. I personally I nowadays I choose my training partners. I obviously, like, I'm 44, I'm a woman, I am not a heavyweight, so I don't want to get hurt. And I know at my gym, I know exactly who is good to train with and who's going to benefit from training with me as well. And usually the lighter guys or the big guys that can move really well, like be flowy, not just like stuck in positions, knowing that is like they give resistance, but not 100% resistance, you know? So always. And I think that choosing training partners, as a white belt, maybe you don't know yet how to choose, but then your coach should be doing that, you know, for you. Should be helping you out, like in a training room full of guys, and there's a female white belt, then she should be matched up with people that will be good training partners. But as you develop, you know, maybe blue, purple, you should be able to pick your partners and be at in a place where you're comfortable to say no to training partners that aren't going to be a healthy training partner for you.
I think that part's important, where you can learn to say no. I think, you know, learning to say no is a skill, and I don't think it's taught overly well. And I also think if somebody says no to you as a role, don't take it personally, because usually that person is working on something specific. You know, like, I have people that I train with, you know, every day, and I see them, and as I get closer and closer, for instance, to a competition, I will roll with them less and less, because there's no point me rolling with someone who's 30 kilos heavier and they have a totally different, you know, style of jiu-jitsu to what I need leading into a competition, you know. So I think learning to say no to a role is really important, Alice. So it's great that you touched on that. And I think the other thing that you spoke really nicely about is, for the most part, the way that you roll with a female, if you're a male, should be similar to the way that you would roll with, you know, a white belt who's 10 kilos lighter than you. You know, if you were a higher belt, it's not a death match. It's, you know, like, if they get something and it's technical, then good for them. Like, you know, don't fall over like wet spaghetti, but like, let them work and let them be technical. And I think for me, my best roles that I have with, like with some of our female teammates, it's those, you know, like, I have teammates that I roll with, and I have to, like, females, and I have to try. Like, I can't just sit there and go, oh, because they'll bash me, you know. But there are other females where you're like, no, like, if you do a hip bump and you don't do it technically, well, I'm not going to fall over. Like, you're not going to learn anything from that, you know. So I think what you said, Alice, is really important.
Yeah, thank you. I think that like, training with women shouldn't be like a taboo, I guess. It's just like, just learn how to be a good partner to the woman you're training with, and maybe it's just communication as well, like, from both sides, you know. Like, I find that even small guys, like, they could be the same size as me, but their strength is, it's, you know, I'm not a weak person. Like, I'm quite strong, but the guys are stronger. And if it's you know, you're training with someone of a different gender, then you have to train in a different way. You can't train the same way you train with another guy, even if they are very technical, even if they are very strong. There's a strength difference there, and that needs to be, you know, addressed, I guess, because it's even like, if you're rolling with a guy who rolls really fast and explosive, it's scary. You know, they can really hurt you. So it's just being mindful of that difference and still be respectful to your partner, that, you know, they're technical and you can have a good roll without, you know, going I think being too explosive or being stuck in positions, that's where it becomes a problem when you're training with women, you know, like, just really, oh, I'm going to put her in side control because I know if she moves, she can get something on me, and then I'm just going to hold here because then I'm safe. Then that's not good for anyone. But also, if you're way stronger than that person and you explode into a movement, and even if you're not trying to hurt, obviously no one's trying to hurt each other, but the weight difference, the strength difference, you can really hurt that person, and then that person's off the mat, and you have one less person to train with, which you don't want. You know, so it's just having that awareness. It takes a bit of time. So that's why when I say, like, I don't really try not to roll with big white belt guys. Some of them I do, if they have that awareness and they've had time to develop that knowledge. And absolutely, I would. It's just, you know, self-preservation and like you said, saying no. Like that's something that back in the day when I started training, like not even in the 90s, but like in the 2012, 2013, it was a big thing. Like you can't say no to black belts. You can't say no to a high belt. Like why? We're not. I don't like when we're like treated like children, in jiu-jitsu. It's like you need to feel safe. You're a human being. You can say no to a situation where you feel uncomfortable. Like the ranking thing is not applicable anymore. Not in that way.
Alice, tell us about when you got your black belt.
So it was a really, really great day. Obviously been training for a long time, and I spent a lot of time on each belt for different reasons. I didn't feel ready, and I feel like at every promotion I didn't feel ready to be promoted. But it was a really great day because first of all, because I had one of my good friends, Lucy. We've been training together since blue belt, and we sort of graded at different times for purple and brown for different reasons. She's sort of like my main training partner now. We've changed gyms, like we trained at flow together, and then we moved over to rhythm, and we trained at rhythm together, and we train. She's my weight, sort of, similar size to me, and we train together all the time. And so it was really special to get it together, and also really happy to get my black belt from Ryan because I really like him firstly, but also it's a place where I feel comfortable and where, like I believe in his jiu-jitsu. I think he's a really, really technical coach. He is a person that likes studying jiu-jitsu, and I feel like his ideology is very similar to mine. And so it was just a great day. I had my kids there, well, my daughters, my son couldn't make it, but yeah, so it's just a special moment, and was really happy that all the hard work, like it's not like I'm a different person. I got my black belt, but it's like, oh, all that hard work now, I've got something. but then at the same time, I thought, I'm still the same person now. I've got a black belt, and I just have to keep working exactly the same as I did yesterday. But it was a good moment for sure.
Yeah, and we're very happy to have another Masters female black belt join the ranks in Australia. Thank you. It's very good. We're growing. I think there was 8 or 10 at the New South Wales States last month.
11.
Yeah. So it's happening. Just we need a few more ladies stay on the mat. We're nearly out of time. Alice, thank you so much for giving up your time to come on, and it's been really great to get to know you. We've just got a couple more questions that Brentos is going to throw your way. You can make the answers as long or as short as you like.
Sure.
All right, Alice, let's do this. iPhone or Samsung?
iPhone.
Strength or flexibility?
Both.
You got to get it. You got to try. I bought the very first iPhone when it came out. I'm like, this is the best. I got it, and then I liked it for a while, and then I don't know what happened. I went back to Samsung, and I love it. Strength or flexibility?
Both. Both.
See? I reckon that's pretty good. That's a good answer. Pasta or rice?
Rice.
Steak or chicken?
Steak.
I like that too. What's your favorite belt that you've been at?
Brown.
Why's that?
I think I just had more freedom to explore, and I competed a lot, which was really good. I felt like brown belt is when my jiu-jitsu started sort of getting together, and I started understanding the systems more than just the movements. Yeah.
That's a good answer. This one makes me cry. Gi or no gi?
That's a tough one. That's a really tough one. I love both. I can't pick one.
Oh,
I'd say
no gi.
No, at the moment, I prefer no gi just because my fingers hurt so much from gi. So, and the other thing is the gi, I get really tired. I had like my neck hurts from all the pulling, my fingers, but I love gi. I love the technique, but for my body right now, I prefer no gi because I move more, but also because I'm enjoying the leg locks. I love leg locks. So it's just learning a new thing. And just this weekend, I've done some wrestling, and I want to learn wrestling. I'm a guard puller. I'm always pulling guard, and I did a camp this weekend at Free Range BJJ in Mullumbimby with Jacob. I can't say his name. Sorry, but Jacob.
Yeah.
So he is a coach at Academy 411, I think. I can't say his surname. I'm very sorry.
That's all right.
Jacob, I'm sorry. But I loved it. It was so good, and now I want to learn. I know I'm not, I'm a little bit old to start wrestling, but if I can do it in a safe way, this is a new thing for me. So it's just, I guess, because I've done gi for so long, and I love lapel. I love the technical side of the gi, but I guess no gi being a bit of a novelty for me, I've been enjoying it more. Sorry, very long answer.
Come down for a Melbourne winter and you'll be straight back into the gi, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'll get my squid guard. Squid and worm guard are like my favorite positions. So
yeah, I can learn loads from you. This would be great. Come back.
Anybody that, I don't know if you've been able to see it, but I've been massaging my forearms with my spoon because of all of my gi training. So I hear you. I know exactly what you're talking about with the soreness.
I like how you're doing it with the spoon, Kim. Two more for you, Alice. First one, can you drive a manual car?
Yes, of course. I'm from Brazil.
Hell yeah, we like it. And then the second one, do you wear Crocs?
No. I don't have a problem with Crocs. I don't have a problem with them, but I just don't have one.
Yeah, no, we love you, Alice. This is first.
Thank you so much, Alice, for coming on. We're slightly different ages, but if you're coming down for Pan Packs, I don't know, we may face off in the absolute division or something like that. We'll see how we go. Look forward to meeting you in person. But all the very best for ADCC trials and everything else for the rest of the year. Like I said, it's awesome to get another female black belt on, another Masters female black belt. So we'll have this episode out in a couple of weeks. If you could share it, that would be fantastic. Brentos, do you want to do the wrap up?
Yeah, absolutely. Before we do, Alice, can you just give us a quick little rundown on your women's, is it monthly catch up that you guys do?
Yeah. So we do women's open match once a month. I try to pick a different gym every month, so that we meet, as many women as possible. So we do mostly Gold Coast, but Brisbane as well. Next one will be on the 17th of May at Rhythm at 9 a.m. Everyone's welcome. It's always very friendly. We just roll and then have a chat. Sometimes we go Rhythm is right next to the Talabudgera Creek, so we go for a swim, we grab a coffee, and it's hard training but super friendly. Everyone is welcome, white to black belts. And then I try and pick a date when there's no comps or nothing, no seminars, no camps, nothing's going on that month. And I do it month by month, just so I don't have a whole year planned. There's too much going on. It's like every weekend there's something. So I try and pick a date where there's less things happening, and it's always a good time.
Yeah, that's awesome. So ladies, if you're up that way, Gold Coast, Brisbane sort of area, try to get along to those. But that's it for another episode of Roll or Die. Thank you guys for listening. Please like, rate, and share the podcast. You guys know the drill by now. We appreciate that. It helps us get, cool people like Alice on. We really appreciate that. So thank you guys. Alice, really enjoyed it. Lovely to meet you. Good luck. Hopefully you get a few more of these matches, one against one, no time limit sort of scenarios. That would be cool. FFC down in Melbourne, if you're looking for a black belt female, maybe we could have Kim and Alice on the FFC card. That'd be great. Let's do that.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm keen.
So Kim, to go you in there, I think you'd be great. This is cool. FFC, you're listening, you know what's up. That's it. We will see everybody on the next episode of Roll or Die. Until then, peace.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.
So much fun.
Bye.
Bye.